Yes guys, what's going on? Welcome to McKola TV. We're back for another Weekly United, the place where we wrap up the last 7 days in the world of Manchester United all in one video. And we do that right here on McKola TV every single Thursday. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, liking, commenting and sharing and keeping it locked to the channel as well. Thank you to all the new subscribers that have come across recently and all the new members as well. We're close to our first 50 members on the channel. If you want to find out more about that, click that join button and read all that information if you want to support the channel. But if you can't or you don't want to, make sure you're banging that subscribe button. And we got loads to get stuck into today. We're hearing Harry Maguire's dream Manchester United centre-back partnership, updates on Sancho's and Ighalo's transfer future, quotes from Ander Herrera, United linked with a couple of young talents and signing some players and swooping in at Barcelona and Sunderland for some young talent, and Bruno Fernandes is boiling the piss of the Premier League, as well as ending this show as we do every Weekly United with a little bit of positivity and a little bit of good news. So we got plenty to get stuck into today, and remember, this is your show, so make sure you're getting your comments in below on everything we discussed today, like this one right here. So Harry Maguire was asked who would be his dream Manchester United centre-back partnership, and he answered Bruno Fernandes. Now, obviously, he could have picked any centre-half throughout the time at Manchester United. You're thinking of your Stams, your Vidics, but I think our skipper, Harry Maguire, has got the right choice. In my opinion, Rio is the best centre-half I've ever seen play for Manchester United. Stam did it as well, and he's probably up there, and if you select Stam, I can't really argue with that one. But I feel for what Rio did over a longer period of time as well, I just feel that edges it a little bit ahead of Stam. And for me, Bruno Fernandes is the perfect centre-half. And imagine how good of a centre-back partnership Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes would have been for club and country as well, I'm sure. So good to see our centre-back, our skipper, has got a little bit of sense about him when choosing United heroes and United great centre-halves down the years. Who would you pick to partner Harry Maguire and why? Now, as ever on the Weekly United, we have an update on what the hell's going on with Jadon Sancho, and the British press at the moment are saying United are ready to shelve Jadon Sancho transfer plans and wait until next summer to seal the £100 million deal from Borussia Dortmund. Well, we've had a dig into this on United Daily this week as well, and we've been having a look at the articles that have suggested this. Now, there doesn't seem to appear to be anything new in these stories. The first story that popped up was in the Mail, and then the rest of them followed and copied that story. Now, when you read it, they're putting two and two together and making up an answer at the end of it, because they're saying due to Ed Woodward's quotes on the transfer market not being the same in the summer, due to Dortmund kind of being in a position where they're saying they don't need to sell and they're possibly going to offer him a new contract, that United aren't going to go ahead with the signing, are going to wait till next summer. In my opinion, Jadon Sancho leaves Dortmund, whether it's to Manchester United or not this summer or the next transfer window, that's for sure. And I think when you read that article, it doesn't seem to be anything new, and you got to look at what the reliable transfer sources and the reliable journalists are saying, and most of them are saying United are still in the market for Jadon Sancho. So I wouldn't pay this story any mind, to be totally honest with you. Someone whose future could be up in the air though because of this, and because of there being no football for the next couple of weeks as well, or months, or whoever knows how long it's going to be. But United are delaying their Odion Ighalo transfer decision. Now, we've heard this before. We don't know what's going to happen with loan deals. Are Shanghai going to allow us to extend the loan deal if the season goes ahead behind closed doors? Is this the end of the season, so we now have to make a decision on the permanent deal? And if so, have we got somebody else in mind? We've been linked with a number of other strikers, the likes of Dembele, Haaland, Harry Kane, all sorts. Now, I don't think many of them are realistic. Probably Dembele due to the cost, but I can imagine United would be quietly keen to get Odion Ighalo signed up. You've just got that issue as well, by where if you give a permanent deal, you've then got to give a new contract. You could possibly be paying a contract for a period of time where you're not even getting a player. So it depends what will happen with that. United might just allow him to return. The contract goes back. He's not playing football anyway. He's getting paid by Shanghai. Then as soon as we know what's going on, the transfer window opens, they swoop in and assign him. Because they don't have to pay that chunk of wages in between that. Of course, we still have to pay him up until the end of the duration of the loan, but we're only paying a small percentage of his wages at this moment in time. So I can see this one dragging on for a little bit. In my opinion though, we should keep Odion Ighalo. It doesn't rock the boat. We don't have to sign another striker. It's very unlikely we'll sign a striker anyway. And we got someone that's ready-made there to be our plan B, our rotation striker. Why not keep him? Talking about why not keeping him, Herrera has been talking recently, and he reveals he wanted to stay at Manchester United but had a difference of opinions with the board which led to his exit. He says, my intention was not to leave. Now, I love Herrera, so I was disappointed when he left Manchester United. But as much as I want to read this and be like, yeah, I believe it, and I'm sure you wanted to stay, but you had a little bit of a difference of opinion. What is that difference of opinion? Was it down to the way the board was run? Was it down to them sacking Jose Mourinho? Was it down to them giving someone like Alexis Sanchez a massive deal and not giving him anywhere near that when Alexis wasn't, you know, pulling up trees, wasn't performing, and Herrera was doing quite well? What was the reason? I don't know what the reason was, but I'm sure he had the offer there and he could have stayed at Manchester United. He opted to go to PSG, I'm sure, for a lot more money. And look, you can look after your family and you could be financially sound for a lot, you know, a long time on that kind of big money. But you could have been financially sound at Manchester United and still been happy and stayed at the club. But yeah, I wish Herrera stayed. That's why I don't like reading these quotes or hearing these quotes coming from him, because if you wanted to stay, bruv. Don't come out now and say my intention was not to leave. I had a difference of opinions with the board, because more time, if United paid the wages PSG were going to pay, you probably would have stayed. Now, when Sanchez is on 375, 400 grand a week, you probably deserve those wages. But realistically, you don't. And that's United's fault for putting themselves in that position. Maybe giving Alexis Sanchez that contract. Maybe not giving Ander Herrera a newer deal earlier and allowing him to come down to a position where he could negotiate with others. But, you know, if he wanted to stay, I feel like he could have stayed. And he didn't. So, there you have it. Right then, United have been linked this week with Marc Jurado, a young fullback from Barcelona, 16 years old, and apparently we've agreed terms with him. And the youth team star is going to be flying into Manchester, becoming part of United's academy, and he's been promised to play higher up the ranks. Now, I imagine that's with the 18s, but it possibly could be with the 23s. And Marc Jurado could be one of those that leaves La Masia and comes to England, like we've seen with Fabregas, PK in the past. He could be the next one to do that. Now, you know, we don't want to jump the gun and get, oh, this one's done, and I don't even know how good this guy is. Some of you might know how good he is, but he's a 16-year-old right back, so I imagine not. But it's good to see recently United have been, you know, there's been rumours of United in the market for young players, 16, 15, 16, 17-year-old lads, throwing them into the academy, helping the academy grow and looking to the future as well. And yes, we've got someone at right back, that Aaron Wan-Bissaka, sorted for the foreseeable future. But it's good to see us, you know, putting in those blocks in place in the academy. And if this one comes through, the reports are that Barcelona are fuming about this one. So he must be a pretty decent player. Another youngster that Manchester United are believed to be set to sign as well is 16-year-old Joe Hugill from Sunderland. Now, this started, and it was in the Mail, in the Express, places like that, where you'd read it and take it with a pinch of salt. You'd think, all right, this is strange. They normally wouldn't talk about a 16-year-old unless it was true. But, you know, this one's strange. Like, let's just wait for a little bit, see what else develops. And then the Guardian, Press Association, and everyone else jumped on it. So whereas with, you know, Marc Jurado, I'm not too sure about that one, whether it's 100% true. The one with Joe Hugill, there does seem to be some likelihood in that being the case. Again, though, he's 16-year-old. He's a big strapping centre forward. He's got a good clean finish on him. But you have to develop these kind of players. Now, he's the kind of striker we haven't really got in our academy system. So I'm sure he comes in and he'd offer there a different kind of player there. And it's good again to see United dipping into markets. And this lad's been picked up for a fee believed to be around 250 grand, 300 grand. If you get a striker for that much, an English striker at that, and he works out to be a proven goal scorer in, you know, the next 5 to 10 years, you've got an absolute bargain on your hands. So again, good to see United possibly dipping in and out the market to bring in academy players and boost their talents, and we've seen them do over the years. Now, just before we was about to start filming, I seen this story pop up and I thought, hold on, is this Garth Crooks' team? Is this, whose team is this? But the BBC have released their team of the year. I think it's their match of the day, team of the year, or BBC Sports team of the year. But a man like Bruno Fernandes is in that midfield. Now, the team is Alisson, Trent, Virgil van Dijk, Soyuncu, which I'm surprised at. He had a great start to the season, but in my opinion, there was a fair few centre-halves that probably deserved that ahead of him. Andrew Robertson, Kevin De Bruyne, Jordan Henderson and Bruno Fernandes in midfield, with Salah, Aguero and Mane up top. Now, Bruno Fernandes, I probably wouldn't put him in my Premier League 11. If he played like that for a whole season, you would. Yes, but the amount of piss that's boiling at the moment is great to see. And look, it's also good to see that United have made a signing and he's had an impact like that. He's had an impact where people are considering him to be in the best 11 of the Premier League. Now that might be a little bit knee-jerk. It might be a little bit of a ploy to get in the comments and get in the interaction and the engagement from the BBC. And knowing people are going to start fuming and United fans are going to start taking the piss. But Bruno Fernandes, for the quality that he showed in those games, would deserve it. It's just that he didn't do it over a longer period of time. But it's not a usual season, is it? It's not a normal season at all. And I suppose if he had the rest of the campaign, the 9 games ahead of him, he probably would have been bursting into that team. So fair play to Bruno Fernandes. I mean, last year the only one in the PFA team of the year was Paul Pogba, and he thoroughly deserved it. Now we got Bruno Fernandes possibly being the only one in the team, although this is the BBC's team. But if you want to see some funny shit, go to where the BBC Sport have tweeted this and read the replies. They are hilarious. Now, as ever on the Weekly United, we end the show with a little bit of positivity. A Man United Foundation, the charity that is connected to the club, of course, have been doing their part again in the local community and have donated £300,000 to partner schools and colleges and to help them through these difficult times. So well done to the Manchester United Foundation for the way they've stepped up in these recent times and for all the work that they've done since they've been, been founded. Because yes, they are linked to Manchester United, but they're not really, they're a charity. They still have to do hard work, and they still do a lot of hard work in those areas. And I think Manchester United as a whole club have responded to this well. Some might say, and they might be right in saying that it's for good PR when the club do things like that, and it probably is, but they're still making an impact and it's still benefiting someone somewhere, so I'm sure you can't complain too much. Anyway, guys, that has been it for this week's Weekly United. Thank you for tuning in to the show. What do you guys think about the future of Sancho Ighalo? What did you make of Ander Herrera's comments? Did they make you feel a little bit sick, gutted, sad? How did you feel about that one? Marc, Jurado, Joe Hugill, are they future Manchester United stars? Should Bruno Fernandes be in the BBC's team of the year? And was Harry Maguire right in picking his dream Manchester United centre-back partnership? Let us know in those comments below. Make sure you're keeping it locked to Adam McKola TV, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing and joining if you can as well. And for now, I've been Adam McKola. I'm out of here.